Good evening. In the last video, we discussed the background to the study. So in this video, we'll continue with we are still on the chapter one, and that's already in the chapter one. That is the statement of the problem. When we talk about the statement of the problem, the statement of the problem simply means the what is a short and clear explanation of the issues that bring about the research. That problem that you foresee, the problem that you saw that makes you want to read the research, that is what your problem of the study will discuss. It, it focuses on the specific issue you have identified and you hope to resolve. So all the problems that you have identified that may lead to the project is what you are going to discuss in the statement of the study. And most time the way we write the statement of the study is that you will state you have an open statement, then with the second paragraph will talk about the problem you have foresee that you want to solve, and then you now make a conclusion. The third paragraph will now be the conclusion of the problem. So the next slide now I'm going to show an example, a typical example of the statement of a problem. Look at this. This is a statement of a problem of a particular project. You can see I have the first paragraph, the second paragraph, and the third paragraph. The, the first paragraph is introducing us to the topic generally. This topic is on nutrition of athletes. So the project here, the project say that carbohydrate provide energy that is needed for metabolic activities and the likes. So therefore, so it's just telling us that the kind of food you eat will determine how much energy reserve you have in your body for performance. So the second paragraph now stated the problem. It says that it is observed that athletes eat different kinds of foods with the intention of loading their body with adequate energy needed for optimal performance without knowledge of the glycemic index of the food. Unfortunately, the glycemic index of many local foods have not been determined. Proper documentation of glycemic index and possible effect of these local foods on cardiorespiratory endurance is important for sports performance. We give the athletes the opportunity to select their meal from varieties of local foods that the glycemic index is known. Then look at the closing statement. It now said that it is on the premise that this study is designed to examine the blood glucose response of selected local foods and effect on cardiorespiratory endurance of undergraduate athletes. This is a typical statement of the problem, but the topic for this research that is glycemic index of selected foods and the effect on cardiorespiratory endurance. And you will see that the in the second paragraph, the researcher actually mentioned this. He mentioned the problem, mentioned the reason why they have to do the project. He mentioned that it is observed that athletes eat different kinds of food without knowing the glycemic index of the food and how it can affect their performance. That is the problem that he has foreseen, that athletes eat different kinds of food without having proper knowledge of the glycemic index and how it affects their performance. So that is what he saw as the problem that made him to want to go into the problem. Now see that if the glycemic index can affect their performance. So this is a basic example of how the statement of the problem is written. With more examples, with more practice, you will be able to write better. So that is why, as I advised in the last video, that you will need to practice more, download more PDFs on the topic that you are doing, read more. The more you read on it, the more you have an insight on how to write this. So after talk about the statement of the problem, the next one that we are going to look is the purpose of the study. What is purpose of the study? Purpose of the study is also called the objective of the study. For every research that you want to do, you must have an objective why you want to do it, and you must state the objective. So this is a typical example of how to write the purpose of the study. You can see here The author said the purpose of this study is to determine the blood glucose response of selected local foods and their effects on cardiorespiratory endurance among active undergraduate students. That is the main purpose. Then he now said other purpose are to determine the glycemic response of boiled plantain, to determine the glycemic response of boiled sweet potato, determine the glycemic index of boiled plantain, determine the glycemic index of boiled potato, examine the effect of glycemic response of boiled plantain on the cardiovascular endurance of undergraduate students. So he listed, after saying the general objective, he now listed the specific objectives. This is the format. If you want to write any objective of the study purpose, this is the format you use to write it. Having said that, we move to the next one is the research questions. These are the questions. Research questions are the questions that arise while you are thinking about the topic. So at most time, the best way to write your research question is you say those purpose of the study that you listed, just change them from that statement to question. Do you understand? Look at it now. Here they say, what is the glycemic index of boiled plantain? You know, in the objective of the study, you said to determine the glycemic index of boiled plantain. So now, if you want to write the research question, so you've turned all those objectives that you have listed, you've turned them into question. That is what Ugbo is going to give you your the research questions. I guess that is clear. So the next one is the research hypothesis. Hypotheses are just statement of guess or prediction. I can predict that there will be no difference in the performance of two athletes. The one that is trained in Nigeria and the one that is trained in UK. No, that is just a statement until I'm able to prove it. Maybe after carrying out a research and I'll put the one that are trained in Nigeria and the one that are trained in the UK, and I'll put them in a competition and see who is going to win the race. So if eventually the one that is trained in Nigeria win, I can say that my prediction is correct or not. So that is just what hypothesis means. It's just a statement of prediction or guess. So how do you now write your hypothesis? So just the same thing, that you will turn the research questions you have is what you're going to turn into hypothesis. But there's a format in which we write hypothesis. You know, we have two types of hypothesis. We have the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. The null hypothesis is always a negative. It will always tell us that there is no significance. So why the alternative will tell us that there is significance? So now the first thing here is that there will be no significant difference in the glycemic indices of boiled plantain and boiled sweet potato. When you are writing hypothesis, significance must always appear there. The word significant must always appear. So you can say the words of it. I said there will be no significant difference in the glycemic response of boiled plantain and boiled sweet potato. Glycemic response of boiled plantain will have no significant effect on the cardiorespiratory endurance. So you can see, so you turn the research question into hypothesis and stating it the way an hypothesis is being stated. When you want to state an hypothesis, you state it that it will be essentially null hypothesis. Say there will be no significant difference in so and so. So that is the way we, just like I want to say that there will be no significant difference in the height of student A and student B. That is null hypothesis. I can also say that there will be significant difference in the height of student A and student B. That is alternative hypothesis. You can see that one is positive, the other one is negative. The next thing we want to look is the significance of the study. Any study that you want to carry out must have significance. That who are those that are going to benefit from this study? You must be able to tell us those this study will be useful for. For instance, and there's you also write that you separate them with your paragraph. For instance, according to this one, he said those that are going to benefit from it. This one said the athlete trainers are going to benefit from it. Also, sport nutritionists are going to benefit from it. Also, policy makers, depending on what your project is. But the significance is just telling us that what is the significance of that project. If I want to spend a large amount of money of my time on a particular project, I must be sure that that thing have relevance. It has significance, it has importance. So those importance you state them here. It means that those that are going to benefit from it if I finish this project, who are those who are those that this the result will be useful to. That is what you are going to state here in the significance of the study. So the next one is the delimitation of the study. It is also called the scope of the study. When we say the delimitation of the study, we are talking about the area. You know, your research cannot cover every area. So the particular area that your research want to cover is what is called the delimitation of the study. And most times, usually, it gives us the summary of what the work is about. For instance, I said this one, the first thing is that the the study is delimited to the following: active undergraduate study, which means that the people I want to use are active undergraduate students. Also, I want to use randomized pre-test, post-test research design. Also, the kind of food I want to use is you state all those things here that these are the things I want to give. You state them one after the other when you talk about the limitation of the study. That is the area that the scope of your study, the area that your study want to cover. So that whether you do whoever is reading know that okay, this study did not cover more than this, and this is just the area that the study is covering. So the next one is limitation of the study. The limitation of the study is talking about some of the challenges that you faced in the work. It is expected that you are going to face some challenges when you are writing. It could be that maybe for those that are using questionnaire, it will be that people do not want to fill the questionnaire for you. They are reluctant to fill it. Some people, because of the type of information they want to get from them, maybe you want to carry out research on people that have HIV/AIDS. Because of the sensitive information, they may not want to participate in the study. That's another limitation to the study. So you now give us what you did to solve the problem. You must state it there. For instance, for those that are using questionnaire, one of the problems you're going to face is that when you give people questionnaire, by the time you go back, they will tell you they cannot find it. Or probably they will have destroyed it. So how do you cope with that? You now say that okay, you give the questionnaire and you make sure that you collect it on spot. That will prevent the missing of the questionnaire. That is for the limitation of the study is talking about the problem that you encounter while carrying out the project. The last one we talk here is operational definition of terms. In your work, if there's any major terminology that you use, you must define them according to what you understand. In this place, we don't use dictionary meaning. We talk about what you mean by that particular word, so that whoever is reading it will know that okay, this is what it means. In other places, they call it the jargons, the medical jargons, the law jargons. But in projects, we call them operational definition of terms. All those big, big words that you use, you must break them down, you must tell us the meaning, not the dictionary meaning, but what you understand by it from using it is what you're going to tell us. So that is where you're going to that is we are going to stop today. We have mentioned all that are supposed to be in your chapter one of your proposal. I started with the background to the study. After the background to the study, the next subheading will be statement of the problem. After that, then you move to purpose of the study. After the purpose of the study, we move to research questions. After research question, we move to research hypothesis. After research hypothesis, we talk about the significance of the study. Then after that, we talk about the delimitation of the study. Then we explain the limitation of the study and then the operational definition of terms. These are all what are expected to be in your chapter one. Thank you for listening.